February 6, 2009. Um, I couldn't sleep very well last night. I got up like 3, and then I got up before 5 out here in Utah because I wanted to watch Jack Welch on CNBC. Um, I like the guy. He does shoot from the hip, and I remember he came and spoke when I was back at Harvard Business School, and it was fun, going down and talking to him for a quick second afterwards. Anyway, he was running GE back then, so I've always thought he was a great CEO, and so it was interesting to watch him. I watched the whole scene this morning. So I want to go over some of my notes on that. First thing I started watching this morning is the Toyota debt could be downgraded, and that Toyota was saying things dramatically worsened. Toyota's evidently the largest automaker on earth now. Dramatically worse in the last 2 months, and they were warning of wider losses ahead. So, Jack Welch, 269 on CNBC. Then the big thing was waiting for this job loss number. So Joe says, I don't know what to believe. And so Jack said he was saying that the banking system was in cardiac arrest, and he was really looking forward to what was going to happen on Monday. So I am also. And then he was also said that he was looking forward to the PIMCO person, Mohammed El Arian. I think that's how you pronounce it, coming up in a little while. So I was just taking in all this stuff. And then Bill Gross, there was a quote I saw it go under, I think it was either I switched over to Bloomberg, I saw it on the bottom of Bloomberg, but Bill Gross was saying that trillions is needed to avoid a potential catastrophe. And as you know, Obama was saying that if things don't get passed fast, there could be a catastrophe. And evidently, this afternoon, that $780 billion package was passed. Bill Gross is saying there's trillions. Bill Gross manages a lot of money in bond funds, as many of you know. So that's another very interesting comment. Obviously, the billions and billions of dollars thrown at this situation in the last year or so haven't worked. So as far as the 780 trillion working, I have a lot of thoughts on that. But you're going to switch from seasoned CEOs that are compensated and worked their whole life in industries to politicians determining how this works. They also had Mitt Romney on, who was an excellent manager of capital at Bain Capital, and just a lot was going on. I thought the invisible hand of Adam Smith. It's not going to be moving around anymore with jobs. You're going to have bureaucrats out of Washington. And Rick Santelli said something really funny. Rick Santelli said, wise men bury gifts out of Washington. It just loaded with good stuff this morning. So let's see a couple of notes after the Bill Gross thing. They did an accounting of TARP, of their performance so far, I guess on the $350 billion or so. And the government bought assets and has already lost $78 billion. So there we have already documented inefficiency with this government TARP thing. Toyota, the first annual loss since 1980. And wow. And Jack came on and said the government has to, what was he saying? Stay out of managing these companies, something like that. But he also feels that Obama, did his best he could with his $500,000 cap on CEO pay. I personally think that it's going to be a disaster. I know for the common person out there, it seems like $500,000 not enough. But once again, boy, I tell you, when you have government telling private companies how to run themselves, essentially, they're not private companies anymore. Jack talked about GE, and one thing, Jack loves GE, and he's still long GE. Jeff Immelt, who's running GE right now, I think he did a very brilliant thing as a CEO a few months ago. GE was trading around 25, and Immelt floated a $23 equity float of GE stock, and it went off successfully. I thought, Jeff, brilliant move, because that stock's going to go way under 20, and it's at 11 right now, so it was a brilliant move. Jeff saw things. He saw the macroeconomic picture. You always have these Wall Street guys, and it's tragic, but you have to laugh. We're hitting bottom. Where's the silver lining? And they've been saying this for a year and a half, it's ridiculous because they were wrong, and they still try to have an opposing view, have them, on the different TV shows. But Jeff Immelt, that was a phenomenal job that he did in floating that equity issue at $23 a share, because now it's at 11. and it helped GE last longer. So they're talking about possibly GE might have their debt downgraded. Then El-Arian, the guy, Mohammed El-Arian, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing his name, did come on at about 8:40 Eastern time, and he started. And I like the exchange, that interesting exchange. Jack said people can't even tell what's going to happen 2 or 3 months down the road. It's hard to make projections. And it is hard to make projections. And you think about it, because here you've got this stimulus package that just passed. You have $780 billion, and the government is going to spend it, okay? So you have people that don't have experience in running these industries, or they might put these czars in that have some experience. But let's just say they're going to run, high-speed internet all over the place. And if they pick Cisco, then the earnings of Cisco are going to be phenomenal, right? Or let's say they need a bunch of green cars, like 200,000 for this fleet, and they pick Ford or GM or Chrysler or some other manufacturer. So it's going to be in the hands of a few bureaucrats which companies totally succeed and which ones get crushed. I heard about this wanting Ford Motor Company to throw in $4 billion in their pension all of a sudden. It's whimsical. It's not going to be consistent. And to predict stocks, you're going to have to predict where the bureaucrats are going to spend the money, which takes a lot of research. And talk about corruption in Washington. Oh my gosh. Unfortunately, it is just beginning. I wish the best for the administration, but there's no way. There's no way. You're basically taking Adam Smith's invisible hand, which was very limited with so much government regulation the last 30, 40 years. Now it's just basically cut off. Adam Smith's hand is cut off. The invisible hand is gone. We have the invisible whims of government coming up now, so good luck in trying to predict them, stock pickers, and whatever. But that's what we're going to be facing now for the next 2, 3, 4 years. Some other notes, let's see. One place I disagree with Jack Welch on, I appreciate his wisdom, we have a lot of respect for him. We are going to get through this and we'll be stronger. Well, he saw the 80s and how a lot of companies retrenched. He had said he had Walter Wriston on his board of GE, a huge banker. And Jack said this is an absolute fact. Well, I have to disagree with Jack Welch on that. We're not going to get through with this. The U.S. economy is going to completely tank. It's going to continue to tank. Then the job loss number came out, 598,000 jobs. 600,000 jobs gone in 1 month in January. So the American economy is just getting crushed. And as far as bringing it back, I can see all roads lead to internationalism, to an international solution, and you just catch this from the media. Obama, the world's looking to him, they're looking to this, and so you just see what's going on. We're going to have worldwide regulation, and those will lead, obviously, and I know it's radical and people can't quite get their arms around this. It just seems the people that aren't on the media do get their arms around this. But obviously we'll head not only towards a euro over there, we'll have the Amero here, and then we're headed towards a one world currency. And that'll be presented as a solution to the worldwide economic depression. So, obviously, you MOT viewers, you have the stuff in advance. Here we go. It's the end of the workday. I wanted to get this off sooner, but I wasn't able to do it this morning. Okay, unemployment hits 7.6%. It goes through the different payrolls, but just massive job losses. And the biggest post-war drop in a long time. And then Santelli made that thing that the wise men from DC are going to come bringing gifts. That was phenomenal. So Mohammed El-Arian from PIMCO, those guys manage hundreds of billions of dollars. I think even over $1 trillion. As long as there is this lingering uncertainty, fresh capital must come in. And he's worried about the sudden deterioration and that happening so quickly. And then Joe Kernan asked another question. I've always enjoyed Joe Kernan, his interviewing techniques, asking questions. I've been watching him for a long time. And Joe said, he asked El-Arian this, are the banks going to be nationalized? El-Arian hedged a little bit, but he did say this. Greater control, yes. So essentially, you're going to have the government coming in, and already they're controlling Bank of America and this dividend thing and all that. More and more control from the government. So fasten your seatbelts. Let's see what happens Monday. I could do an update every 4 hours. So many things are going on. But and I know everybody knows there's a collapse. I posted that new video as far as the Mormon leader talking about a depression coming up. People say, "Oh, bro, we know." Yeah, we know. All us here on MOT, we've been knowing this for 2 or 3 years. I finally just did it when the Dow was at 13,800 because I knew 100% probability for sure we'd be tanking down. And if we didn't have the bailout, the Dow would probably be like 3 or 2,000 right now. So it's still at 7,000. There was a rally today. Of course, a sucker's rally. We'll see what happens next week. But this is going to continue to go downhill fast until there's a full-fledged depression. And then after that, the other solutions will come. And we'll talk about that later. Bueno, ciao. Rock on. Oh, yeah. Here's what I want to do. For those of you here in Utah, I'm going to be... I like meeting people. I had a great time in California when I went to Whole Foods. So Whole Foods... Sunday night at 6 o'clock. Sunday night, Whole Foods, 6 o'clock. Sugar House. Anybody in the Salt Lake area knows where Sugar House is. It's like 23rd South and around 1700 East. But Sugar House, Whole Foods, I will be there in the back area where you can eat salads and stuff. I'll be there at 6 o'clock, give or take 10 minutes, this Sunday, Whole Foods, Salt Lake City. And if you want to talk before about economics, I will be over in Barnes & Noble. And what do I do in Barnes & Noble? Well, I'll be checking out foreign affairs. I'll be looking at the New York Times, the Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, Investors Business Daily, probably buying Barron's and scanning the covers of Newsweek, Time Magazine, Harvard Business Review, things like that. So I'll be over at Barnes & Noble before that. And then after I kind of take in all those things as much as I can, I will be over at Whole Foods, 6 o'clock, Salt Lake City. Sugar House. Hope to see ya. Bye. February 19th, 2009. Another must-do update right now, and this video is entitled Rick Santelli Rules. It's on CNBC right now, and it shows Rick Santelli with righteous indignation about this bailout plan on the floor there in Chicago. And what it shows is basically the righteous indignation of the government taking money from responsible people and giving money to irresponsible people. And Rick talks about, do you want to pay for your neighbor adding a new bathroom and pay for his mortgage? Of course you don't. Nobody would want to do that, and no honest politician would support legislation like that. There's a previous video I have about Rick Santelli versus Steve Leisman, and basically Steve Leisman's for central planning, and a lot of people have been for central planning, and central planning always leads to economic collapse. Obviously, the United States of America is headed towards full-on central planning, and so it's obvious it's headed for total collapse to anybody that, I guess it requires a little bit of wisdom. So it's very foolish to think that the stimulus package will work, and anybody that votes for the stimulus package, doesn't matter the party, but if you support this stimulus package or past stimulus packages, you support legalized theft, you don't understand the Constitution. And that's the sad truth, that almost all of our politicians back in Washington do not understand the Constitution. They do not understand the general welfare clause. They misinterpret, misimply, and that's why the United States, unfortunately, is headed towards inevitable economic collapse. So Rick Santelli, you rule? Rick, right on. Way to go. Way to show some righteous indignation down there. The bottom line is, it's too late to fix things unless we would have had to immediately go back to the original intent of the founders, probably a decade ago, before Bush came in and racked up the trillions in debt. And now, of course, we're talking about $2 trillion a year in debt and $55 trillion in overall debt. So it's over. It's over. And you guys that trade commodities in Chicago and other places, okay, interest rate futures and all those things, this is the year to start growing your own garden. Worrying less about trading those commodities rather than actually growing and possessing those commodities, because the government is in full retreat from the Constitution and full-blown implementation of transfer payments, which is basically and essentially and is actually taking money from producers and giving it to non-producers. Transfer payments, or what I like to term in the most concise, cogent way, legalize theft. Thank you, Rick Santelli, for telling the truth. Way to go, Rick. You rule.